Last year's Moto Z Play was one of the longest lasting smartphones you could buy, all while retaining a thin, sleek profile. This year's sequel gets even thinner, but it sheds a little battery capacity in the process. This is the Moto Z2 Play. The Moto Z2 Play looks a lot like last year's model, and for good reason. Back when Moto Mods were announced, Lenovo promised that each new phone in the Z series would continue support for all mods. That means a uniform design language within the family, and luckily it's an appealing form factor. The body is made of aluminum with flashy chamfered edges, and even though it's absurdly thin at just 6mm, one less than last year, it feels solid, and there's even still a headphone jack, so maybe OEMs can stop using thinness as an excuse for excluding it. Inside, you get a Snapdragon 626 chipset with an Adreno 506 GPU and 3 or 4 GB of RAM, depending on if you choose the 32 or 64 GB model. Either way, you can expand your storage at any time with a microSD card. Up front is a 5.5-inch AMOLED display at 1080p that looks pretty good in most angles, and directly underneath it is a fast fingerprint sensor that you can use as a gesture trackpad for navigation if on-screen controls aren't your thing. I've mentioned Moto Mods a few times now, but if you're new to the Moto Z line, then you might not know what those are. In short, they're magnetic attachments sold separately that add functionality like better audio, a bigger battery, or wireless charging. Those are the functions of the 3 mods I received with my review unit, and I actually like them all a lot. The JBL Sound Boost 2 has a little more bass than I would prefer, but you can easily adjust the EQ with its corresponding software, and it gets a lot louder than the speaker built into the Z2 Play's earpiece. The new Style Shell is nice too. It gives your phone a bit more personality and adds wireless charging functionality. As for the Turbo Power Pack, well, I'll get back to that in a little bit. The best part about the Moto Mods is that they're completely plug and play. There's no pairing to fuss with, you just attach whichever mod you need at any given moment. But that does bring up an issue I have with them, which is that to get the most out of your phone, you need to carry your mods with you at all times. They're also pretty expensive, with mine going for $40 to $80 a piece, but on the bright side, they'll still work if you move to another Moto Z in the future. Now, Moto has always been one of my favorite OEMs when it comes to software, because for the most part, it leaves Android to do its thing and adds a few conveniences. As always, Moto's signature flashlight chop and camera twist motions are here, and you can still command the phone using your voice with a custom launch phrase. New to the Z2 Play is App Flash, a Google Now alternative to the left of the home screen that does pretty much all the same stuff. Now, the 12-megapixel camera bulging out of the back of the phone isn't amazing by any means, but it's still pretty good. It handles multiple exposures well, and there's a nice warmth to the colors that I really enjoy. It's also easy to snap a quick photo thanks to the camera's twist gesture, and if you're taking pictures at night, there's a dual-tone LED flash for both the rear and front cameras. The main focus of last year's Moto Z Play was its outstanding battery life, so naturally we were curious to see how long the Z2 Play's smaller 3000 mAh battery would last, and the results really shocked me. From a full charge, I managed to squeeze out over 8 hours of screen on time in the first day alone, including downloading and setting up apps and streaming hours of Netflix. Once it finally ran down halfway through the second day, I slapped on the Turbo Power Pack mod and got another 6 hours before I just gave up around midnight, netting me nearly 48 hours of heavy use away from a cable. I even took the Z2 Play with me on a 5-day vacation last week, and between the phone and the battery mod, I charged up twice throughout the entire trip, which is just awesome. Overall, the Moto Z2 Play can definitely be a good value, as long as you're on Verizon, where you can pick one up for about $400. On the other hand, if you're buying unlocked, that price goes up to $500, and that puts it in the same price range as the OnePlus 5 or even a used LG G6, both of which are faster and have better cameras. Still, if you're already invested in the Moto Mod ecosystem, or charging every night just doesn't fit your lifestyle, this is a great phone for all but the most demanding of users, who will probably want to wait a couple of weeks to see what else Moto has in store.